Mm.
So, Constable, why the Mounties?
Yes, Constable. Please tell us why someone like yourself chose such an honorable profession.
And while we're at it, how did you come to be in Coal Valley?
Why don't you answer that question?
I'm sure I wouldn't know.
In that case, just lucky, I guess. But as to being a Mountie, that is in my blood. My father made a career of being a peace officer, and my mother told me never let a day go by without serving somebody else.
My son Peter considered joining the Royal Northwest Mounties, but his father convinced him that coal mining was also a noble profession.
It is, ma'am. One of the noblest. I'm so sorry for your loss. I can't imagine how hard it must have been for you to have them both go into that mine every day.
Well, most days I didn't think about it, you know. I just went about my business and I pretended I didn't know what they were doing or how deep into that mountain they really were. And then their shift would end and in they'd come, sometimes laughing, sometimes grousing, always covered in that coal dust.
Did they ever talk about the danger?
He didn't need to. It's an unspoken contract that every coal miner makes between himself and his family.
Mrs. Stanton, can you tell me what you remember about the day of the explosion?
I'm sure Mrs. Stanton doesn't want to discuss that subject now.
It's okay, Elizabeth. I don't mind. I remember everything. The explosion was so loud it shattered windows and rattled the whole house. And it dawned on me what had happened. All we could think to do was run. There are no words for what we felt. What was in our hearts.
Oh, Abigail, please don't tell me they're both in there. No, dude. Joseph is too.
It's collapsed! The whole damn thing is gone!
But they never came home. You asked about the danger. Noah would have never allowed Peter to go in that mine if he thought something was amiss. But he was superintendent, and we were superintendent's family.
And that probably isn't easy in a town like this.
Noah had to walk a fine line between company man and miner. He stayed on Gowan's good side in order to get better working conditions for the men. I'm not sure that they always understood that.
What about the wives? Did they take out their frustrations on you?
None of that matters now. There are no sides anymore. It's the only good thing to come out of all of this. It's how those of us who finally have our loved ones back from that mine will get through burying them tomorrow.
Thank you so much for coming, Constable. Was it really necessary to make her relive the worst day of her life?
I'm inquisitive. I gather information as part of who I am.
It's insensitive, but apparently that's part of who you are, too.
You won't have to deal with me for very long. I put in a transfer request, and I am hoping for a quick response.
Good, because this town does not require the services of a second-rate Mountie who runs from a challenge.
I hardly consider this town a challenge.
Really? Seems to me that a town whose church burns to the ground and whose mine explodes, killing half the town's population, would warrant investigation.
In the short time that I am forced to stay here, Miss Thatcher, I fully intend to investigate all suspicious events that have taken place. Which is why I was asking questions tonight.
So you think you can see something or talk to someone for a few moments and juice all sorts of facts that everyone else has missed?
Sometimes.
How clever.
I knew after just 2 minutes of talking to you that you weren't wearing your own shoes or dress and that you weren't disappointed when you found out I was coming to dinner.
How could you know that?
You walking on the outside of your feet to compensate for your shoes pinching and dresses 3 inches too short and a little tight around the waist.
And not being disappointed about seeing you at dinner.
That was just a guess.
How dare you? I never